Hey everyone. So today's going to be a little bit of a heavier topic. It's trauma healing and opening psychic gifts. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my own story with this topic, because what better way to explain it than that? So you're probably going to see me struggle and have to pause a little bit through the first part, but I want to get to where we're going at the end. Because it's a beautiful and emotional journey. So this will probably be part 1 of 2 or 3 on this topic, because there's just so much to cover. So let's go. So when I was little, and we'll talk a lot about the first 10 years of everybody's life when we go into trauma healing, because not that traumas don't happen later on, but I feel like because of the matrix and the human experience, I feel like your patterns are more or less set those first 10 years. I had a lot going on, and this isn't to make anybody feel sorry. It's actually a blessing long term, now that I can look back on it. I have a big abandonment wound, and my caregiver actually passed when I was 10. So sickness and death in there, sexual and emotional abuse, and that, later turned into addiction, abandoning myself. And all the kind of repercussions and self-infliction that happens when a person doesn't know how to deal with things and doesn't get the right support, with having quite the amount of trauma and trying to live and not knowing how to do it. Learning how to feel was probably at the heart of it. I had been carrying so much inside, and I had no idea that, the things going on inside were affecting the outside. I thought they were totally separate, and I felt very alone. I felt very much like nobody could understand, and I tried to go to counseling as a teen, and I was asking them, how do I get rid of this anxiety that I have? It's overwhelming me. From the moment I wake up in the morning, I'm full of fear. Everything is painful. I don't know why it hurts so bad just to be alive. I had a lot of good things going on in my teenage years too, but nobody saw this undercurrent that was going on. Maybe a few people did, but in general I was a really good athlete and my grades were okay. I made it through, but there was definitely some addiction things going on behind the scenes, and I would sleep my weekends away if I didn't have a sporting event. Where I'd be out being rowdy, doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing, as we all do. I can't really go into this without talking about being a woman and being victimized sexually as well. I get a lot of people that come to me and they don't even realize that's why. And then in our sessions we're talking about, going into the root and going into the sacral. And a lot of times I can feel that stuff because I'm so familiar with my own and the work I've done with my own stuff. So if the person's ready, we will talk about that and go in and see what we can bring presence to, I guess is the best way to describe it. How can I go into those feelings and open Pandora's box and feel what's there and allow the emotions to come through, and start to forgive the self. And maybe forgiving others is a process. Forgiving the self, ourselves, is a process. But really, just learning to be there was most of the journey, most of the tough task, was learning how to go back into those emotions and those memories, and not just blowing it up and feeling it, but letting the feelings come through and noticing more than just the pain. There's a whole belief system that comes with a traumatic event or a series of events. It could be the whole environment that wasn't really conducive to, nurturing you. And when you have these things, you get taught that that's just how it is. And when you can't, as a little one, wrap your head around the adults in the situation, not really having your back or being able to nurture you in the way that you would prefer, or that you don't even know, you just know it doesn't feel good, you draw these conclusions of, there must be something wrong with me. I must not deserve this love and nurturing. I must deserve this. What did I do wrong to make these things happen? And it gives you a negative colored lens that you bring with you through life. And you will constantly look through this lens, not realizing that it's true, and it was true, but you have the ability to go in there and change it, and change those belief systems so that you're not operating in the world with this belief that I don't deserve to be treated well, and it's okay to be abandoned or neglected or not listened to, not cared for, whatever that is for you. I think we all have a little bit of that, regardless of if you have any severe trauma or not, because humans are tough, and it's hard to make sure that you're attentive to yourself, but also attentive to the people around you as often as you can. I don't have children yet, and I think I'm really grateful for that, because I'm really trying to work myself out first. I want to make sure that I don't give my children some of the same wounds that I have and haven't quite healed yet. So, getting out of high school, I moved away for a while, and my drug addiction just took off. I was just in so much pain. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to be healthy. I was just self-medicating with anything I possibly could. And of course, alcohol and weed only work so much, so I ended up doing harder things, pills and benzos, and I ended up on opiates. And yeah, I was a heroin addict for a little while there. Thank God I made it out. But so anyway, it seems like such a lifetime ago. So if we fast forward to 2012, which is when my healing journey began, I ended up going to rehab, and I was faced with jail time because of my actions. Very reckless. I wrecked a car, impounded a few vehicles, got arrested 2 or 3 times. Sometimes I go back and try to give that younger version of me lots of love and emotional hugs and guidance. She got me here. She struggled a lot. So here I am, 2012, and I chose rehab instead of jail, of course. And I remember thinking, at least I can't destroy my life for a little while I'm in here. At least I'm safe for a few weeks. I couldn't trust myself. It was like I was torn into 100 different pieces, and they were all fighting each other, and it was just miserable. I didn't understand a lot about psychology, although I was very interested in it. I didn't know how to apply the things that I was interested in about it. And I was sitting in rehab in my room in the window, and I was just pissed. I was pissed at God. I didn't know that there was a God. But either way, I was mad and sad and all of it. And just like, how did I end up here? This shouldn't be my life. How is there a God if this is what my life has turned into? You know, it was more pain than good. It felt a lot more pain than good at that time. So I decided, and I'm not sure why, other than just being at total rock bottom, to have a word with God. And I was a little bit disgruntled, I guess you could say. And I closed my eyes, and in my mind I said to him, whatever. I said, if you're there, if something is there that's supposed to be guiding me, that's supposed to be doing something in my life to help me, first of all, you suck, because look at me. I'm probably not going to make it. But I'm going to give you this one shot, that I'm going to try to listen. If something exists, some energy, some supreme being, I'm going to give you this one shot, and I'll give it my all if you just show me how to live. But you have to really show me, because I'm a mess. And I felt the sunlight come through the window and kind of shower over me, and I had this sense of peace for a few minutes, and I thought that was odd, but I kind of shrugged it off. After that, I went to a halfway house for a year or so, and I worked a pretty intense program with AA and NA, and those programs were actually really beautiful for me because they set the foundation of finding a higher power, and it wasn't necessarily any religious figure or anything it was whatever you decided it was. So I started doing a lot of meditation and journaling and counseling, of course. Some of it was court-ordered and things like that. But I was like, fine, I'm just going to do it, because I had no structure before and my life was imploding. So I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And it was weird. I had this sense that there was something that was guiding me. I was having synchronicities happen, and where I would think about something I needed to know about, and I would find the perfect book, or someone would tell me the answer to it. I'd be just in the right place at the right time. At the meetings, I would be wondering about a topic, and that would be the topic of the evening. I started having these amazing experiences out in nature, where I would feel connected to everything. I was so wide open, so vulnerable, and so exposed. And I would go out in the woods and just sit out there and just be so grateful that I didn't have the need right now to escape it, that I was allowing myself to feel. And when I would allow myself to feel, the emotions would come and then they would go. And that's what was strange to me, is before, the anxiety never left, and I never knew how. But in this newfound, sober, vulnerable, very painful place, I was able to let the feelings come. And then once I got a good cry out, or I did some journaling, I talked to a friend, the bad emotions would cease for a while. And I would have a little bit of peace. And I was like, holy shit, I've never felt this. I've had some good drugs, and I've turned those voices and those feelings off for a while, but I've never gotten to a place where it felt like my head was above water for a little while. And then you get taken out again with waves of the painful stuff. But I was like, wow, I'm onto something with this. This work is actually helping. It was wild. And it turned into, that was my new, I was craving the peace. I was craving the connection with the earth and with the trees and with other people too, because when you start sharing your pain with others, you realize you're not so alone in that. And it feels really nice to be seen in that way. I was listening to a lot of Teal Swan. She talks a lot about inner child work and fragmentation, which is, fragmentation is when you've been hit with a lot of trauma, you split off into different pieces. You push parts of yourself away. The parts that were hurt, or the parts that weren't allowed to be, because the people around you didn't like those parts. If you're a really loud and boisterous little kid, you might get yelled at a lot for being too loud or too much. So in your adulthood, you might be kind of a quiet person, but that might not be really who you are. And that same thing can go with any characteristic. That, I was a singer and a dancer, and I always wanted eyes on me, and that got to be a little much sometimes. And I have a little bit of a block in my throat chakra now with singing, because I was told just to shh. I still gotta work on that. I do try and sing and belt it out more often now. Play my guitar and things. But I still do struggle with stage fright and things like that. So when did I realize I might be extrasensory? I was at a basketball game at one of the colleges, and I was newly a few months sober, and I was going to be going right back to my halfway house after. So that was my plan. And I was getting really overwhelmed in the crowd, and like all those feelings of like anxiety mixed with confusion and excitement and kind of a blah was coming over me. I think that this was the first time that I'd been in a really huge group of people after everything. And I remember sitting there trying to just close my eyes to just get centered, and I could not. But when I closed my eyes, I remember thinking, God, I can't wait to get out of here. We're going to get drunk. We're going to get lit. It's going to be great. And I was like, that's not what I'm doing when I'm getting out of here. I'm literally going back home and going to bed. And I was like, oh my God, I'm around all these college kids, and they're all going to go out and party after this. Those thoughts that I was hearing in my mind and feeling weren't my own. And that really, it freaked me out, number one, and it also made me think, oh my God, maybe this whole time I wasn't just dealing with my own thoughts and feelings. Maybe I was feeling other people's too, growing up. And so that was kind of unnerving to me. It wasn't too long after that I started seeing people's auras. Again, shocking. I thought I was going crazy. I got enrolled in college, and I started taking classes, and I was also going to meetings, so I was listening to a lot of lectures, and oftentimes they would have a whiteboard behind them, or a blackboard or whatever, and I would see the light around them, and it would be just like a couple inches. It started, and it would just be a white light coming off of them, a couple inches like this. And yeah, I thought I was going crazy. And then I started seeing other beings there. But it would show up on the wall just in the shape of a human. I didn't know how to take it. And of course I went to the library and probably read a book about it. I started reading about remote viewing and trying all of these meditative exercises that they have in these books, and found out that it's all real. I started having conversations with people, and we would be asking ourselves, we wanted to know the answer to certain questions, and then it would just come flooding into my mind, and it would come out my mouth, and I said that was not from me. That came from somewhere else. It was all really bizarre. Beautiful and bizarre. Soon after that, and mind you, I'm continuing that every time I get triggered during this time, I'm journaling about it, and I'm letting the feelings come, and I'm crying, and I'm letting it fucking wreck me. And when it came through, every time it felt lighter. I felt lighter. I felt like I was setting down years and years of baggage and shit that I did not need. And just by allowing myself to be triggered by whatever life was giving me, sitting down and seeing what those feelings were. Where were they coming from? Did they have memories attached to them? And letting the tears flow, giving myself room to feel, giving myself nurturing and rest when I needed it. And as I was doing this, I was getting more and more sensitive. More and more things were opening for me, more magic in the world. The world seemed to have a glow to it. The colors were more vibrant. And the longer I did this, the more synchronicities happened. The more times I was reminded that there was some higher power that was guiding me, that was giving me this information, that was telling me, go out in the woods today, or go to a meeting today, or go to the store and get this item, or go and get this book. It was a really amazing and intimate time where I was just amazed almost every day for a long time, and very, very grateful, because I had done a full 180 from not wanting to exist to I'm in a magical, and I have to tell everyone, I'm in this magical world now where I'm not alone. I'm connected to others. I'm connected to Source, and it's guiding me through life. And I need to make sure I keep this, and I need to share this with people. And things got a little hairy then, because some people were ready to talk about this stuff and other people weren't, and I had to be kind of careful about who I talked to, because I realized that some of the stuff I was talking about and experiencing, people thought that I was hallucinating. They thought that I was having mental problems, where this was the most sane I had been in 20 years. And people didn't know how to take it. I found out shortly after that, and realized that my thoughts were what was kind of navigating me through the world. If I was having a bad day and I was in a bad mood, I would often meet people out in the world that were having a bad day, and they would drag me down even further. And I realized the same thing with the opposite, that if I was having a great day and things would just line up, I would have one thing after another that just felt amazing. And all my needs were being met emotionally, physically, just everything. And it would just fall right into place, and I'd have a wonderful day. My thoughts and my energy was actually being mirrored back to me by the world every day. And I knew by what I was experiencing in the world how I was doing emotionally. If I didn't already know, I could use whatever happened during the day as a way to say, oh, I might need to do some adjustment. I might need to go meditate, or I might need to, figure out what's going on. And these patterns that happen too are very specific to the wound or whatever energy that's in you that needs to be looked at and loved and released. Because take your scenario in the real world, it will usually mirror whatever that is, and that trigger that the universe is trying to get you to look at. You can use whatever that is to go inside and figure out which wound or which negative energy that's ready to be worked on and let go of. It's a really beautiful system. And so often people think that these things are just arbitrary, that you just get born, or here I am, I'm a kid, I didn't ask to be here. These not so pleasant things happen. I shove them down, try to forget about them and go through my life. And then when triggers happen, again, avoid, dismiss, shove it down until it kind of goes away. And I think maybe some people can get along with this because maybe the traumas aren't so big and you can carry it. But for me, I had so many that the backpack or the Pandora's box was too, it was bursting at the seams. I could not carry it anymore, so I was basically forced. I was going to kill myself or figure out a way to dig it out, to process it, to let it go. That's exactly what I did. And I think it's a lifetime thing too, because I'm definitely not, in a place where I don't get triggered anymore. I do, but it's a lot easier to deal with now because I know the process. It's easy. It's like, although it may be very unpleasant, painful, I know how to bring the emotion in, blow it up, feel it. And it might be a multiple day process. And I don't think it will ever end, because I think we're always learning how to do better and feel better and get better and release the things that we don't need as we go. So I was doing inner work, and I was watching the external change. I was watching the people even change, which was the most bizarre thing to me, because as I was changing, the people in my life, and I wouldn't even tell them what I was doing, they were getting better too. The people I was meeting up with would have more insight and more peace than I thought they had had. I was literally changing the world by changing my internal world. Just wild. So, let's see. after I started seeing auras, this energy started moving through me. It started in meetings because we all have the opportunity to talk about our own healing or sobriety journey at times. And I didn't really want to talk, but I would feel this buzzing in my body that was like, it was almost like God or someone just like pressing my back and just being like, you gotta do this. And I would feel this buzzing and this, it felt like excitement and nervousness all at once. Sometimes I would chatter, like a cold chill. And I'd have to talk in these meetings, hi, I'm Chelsea, I'm an addict and alcoholic, and here's part of my story, and sometimes there would be really beautiful wisdom that would come through that I didn't expect for myself and for the group. And I kind of started understanding why I got that feeling, like just share. Somebody might take something from what you're saying, even if it's you talking about your pain and your vulnerability and how hard things are for you sometimes. Sometimes that's enough that it will help someone else because they won't feel alone. So I started listening to that feeling. When I got that feeling, that buzz, that go do it, I started listening. And the more I listened, the more it came, and the more I was guided right to where I needed to be. And sometimes it wasn't always fun because you become a helper. And because the universe isn't just about getting yourself in a place where you're happy and healthy and you just get to go on and live happily ever after now, because we are where we're at in time and in society. We have to help each other. We have to share the message, share the peace, and share the love that we found. And that is what happened next. So the energy I felt coming in during those times started coming through my hands. My hands would get hot or cold, and they would feel heavy and buzz, and I could feel the flow coming in through my body. It would fill my body up, and then it would go wherever in the room that needed it. It would go, if someone was sitting next to me, I would intuitively feel the flow coming out of me and going to where it needed to go. And again, shocked by this. Very confused. I started going to church. I knew that they did like laying on of hands at some churches. I went through a few churches, didn't really find what I was looking for. And then I found a book about Reiki, or about channeling Reiki. And I would go back to the halfway house and I said, you guys, I have this buzzing in my hands and I think it's like good energy. Do you want some? And I remember, taking away people's headaches and weird things like that. And I thought, am I this special thing? Like, what's happening? Can you do this? I think you can, but you might need to do these meditations that I've been doing. And I put my hands on people's bodies and I could feel things moving around, and they could too. It was wild. I didn't understand most of it, but I would use it on myself and I would start feeling, the energy. It would help me when I would do my work to release. I would bring that same energy and, do different experiments with it and see how my body would react. So yeah, I'm not sure why I have to share this today, but again, I was nudged to share it, so I usually do what the universe and source ask of me. So I hope that you enjoy this story, and if you have questions or want more details about certain parts of it, please send a message or a comment, and I'll probably do a couple more, like part 2, part 3, because this is really just kind of an overview. And what ended up happening, after this initial awakening, is really when I started to understand how to use these gifts for myself and for others, and how to connect with nature, how to listen for those nudges, and it turned into having a whole team. Not only God, which is, at the tippy top, that's everything, but there's these other guardian angels, and there's a team of beings that are there to help us all. And it just turned into a wild adventure. I didn't realize that the chakra system was a thing until a few years later. I went into the traditions of Reiki, and then I studied a little bit of Buddhism and Hinduism and things like that. I kind of dabbled a lot in a lot of religions in college, because I was just so interested, and I was taking bits and pieces from all of them and realizing a lot of them had all these similarities. But I realized later that the chakra system was real, and that's mostly what I use now to do the body work. So opening the root, which is what I was doing, and I didn't know that I was doing that, was going into those traumas and memories and changing it, feeling it and changing it, to kind of like a new operating system. We hold all those beliefs, like I said earlier, and that could be a whole topic on its own, of how do I rewrite them. It's kind of like computer code. Your computer does what it's going to do based on the code you were given when you were young, good or bad. It's going to do it automatically. And if you don't go in there and change the beliefs to, I deserve to be treated well, I'm going to attract things into my life that are good for me, I know how to use love and my energy and my thoughts to actually affect change in my life. We feel we're so powerless so often with kind of the belief system that we're given, and society isn't in a place to teach this stuff either. They don't tell you, in school, that we are more than our 5 senses, that there's this whole other world. It's kind of like, our vision as humans, we can only see a very small spectrum of light, where there's animals and other creatures can see, so much more that's here that we don't see. It's the same thing with our 5 senses. And they don't tell you that, so don't feel bad about it, that, some of this stuff doesn't come first nature, because they've actually, I believe, tried to suppress it, because we're so powerful. We can create whatever we want. And imagine creating a world where everybody supports each other, and everybody loves each other and works together, and isn't just doing a job for getting money for themselves so that they can exist, and then having 2 days off a week or whatever to just catch up on chores and bills and things, and then to go back again. Imagine a world where we all use our power to heal ourselves and support each other, and actually create a society where we have the things that we want, and we support technology and production of items that make our lives better, but it doesn't suck the life out of life. Oh, it's so possible, but we're stuck, so many of us, in this old belief system that getting up and going to work is all there is. Pay your bills, shut up. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I hope that you don't have to get to a place so painful in your life like I did to realize that you can have everything you want. It might be hard to get there, and it might be work to open your mind and open your chakras and to get into those places. and to use your mind intentionally instead of letting your mind run you. It's supposed to be a tool, and it can be, even though sometimes it runs a little wild. But anyway, thank you all for listening, and please send me a message or a comment about what you want to hear about next, and I hope you enjoyed. See you later. Love you all.